Business of Architecture, episode 172.
So LEED for existing buildings is actual performance. LEED for new construction is a more prescriptive on the design and construction side. But that's LEED. It's the most popular in the world green building rating system. Continues to grow.
Hello, I'm Enoch Sears, and this is the podcast for architects where you'll discover tips, strategies, and secrets for running a profitable and impactful architecture practice. Now, let's get down to business. Today's guest is Charlie Cichetti, an entrepreneur and CEO of two organizations in the sustainability consulting industry. In today's episode, you'll discover valuable lessons in scaling and growing a business, as well as information on the new LEED building standard and some predictions about the future of the sustainable building movement. Now, here's today's show. So, Charlie, welcome to the Business of Architecture.
Thanks, Enoch.
So, give our listeners just a quick overview of what you do right now.
Well, right now, it's kind of crazy. I'm trying to run two companies, but luckily they're in the same industry, the green building industry, the green building movement. 7 years ago, I started a LEED consulting, InPerson training and engineering firm. We've got 25 people based in Atlanta, but have a few offices. So I'm the CEO of that company. And I also have an online education company for LEED test prep and LEED continuing education. All of our continuing is approved for AI hours too. So I've got the e-commerce side of the green building movement with online education, and then I've got the actual let's go do the LEED projects, new construction and existing buildings with my consulting firm, SIG.
Which part of the business came first?
Sure. SIG, my background is construction after I got out of school at Georgia Tech, commercial construction, and I worked for Opus Corporation, a large real estate developer, early adopter of LEED. I really got a lot of LEED experience early. And in 2008, they asked me and 2,000 other people to leave November 5th, day after Election Day. And so they went down to about 100 people. So that pushed me and a colleague who's out in Boulder, Colorado, to start Sustainable Investment Group, SIG. So first we started with in-person LEED training across the country, helping people pass the LEED exams. Back then it was only the LEED AP. I'm sure some of your listeners have legacy LEED AP, old school LEED AP. Before that, yep, there you go, May 2009, June 2009 cutoff. So we started with training. I brought over the consulting experience, and then later we hired engineers for like energy modeling, commissioning on new construction, and then we hired for retro commissioning, energy audits on existing buildings. But that came first, the consulting, in-person training. And then a couple of years ago, I was able to start working at gbes.com, formerly greenexamprep.com. And we just help people pass the LEED exams, now the WELL exam, and keep up their continuing ed. So really having fun on the education front.
So when you say you started working for what at that time was Green Exam Academy, you came in there as an employee, as a staff member, or did you acquire that company? How did that come about?
Sure. No, good question. So Green Exam Academy is one of our affiliates. Some of your listeners might be familiar with Pat Flynn. He used to be an architect. Now he's in the online business world. So Green Exam Academy is a great resource. They actually link over to us. So Green Exam Prep, now gbes.com. Friends of mine started that company. Actually, we used to work together at Opus way back in the day. A lot of high-performance folks there at Opus. They were first to market in 2007, Enoch, with the LEED practice test. First to come out with LEED practice test in 2007. Grew the company. Some friends of mine live in Texas. One was the programmer. Really had a lot of experience writing practice tests for other industries. Applied it to the LEED movement. And then had a few staff members, grew the company, and 2 years ago I was fortunate to buy the website from them, from friends of mine, and I've staffed up, and we're really outbound. We're really on the offensive, trying to do more with our online education company. So 2 years ago I was able to acquire gbes.com.
Okay, fantastic, and thanks for setting me straight. Green Exam Academy is Pat Flynn's original affiliate site where he would send over traffic to Green Exam Prep, which was the education company, which is now GBES.
Yeah, so a little confusing, but you can find them all on Google. It's all about organic search and AdWords.
I think I got it.
It's good stuff.
Yep. So how in those early days with is it SIG?
That's right.
Right, SIG. How did you market that in-person training?
Great question. And I think this is something that maybe some of your listeners could do more of is not just free lunch and learns, but what we did is we went to our trade organizations. In that case, AGC, Associated General Contractors, and later BOMA, Building Owners and Managers Association. We formed some early partnerships. We said, you know what, this is a good way for you to get non-dues revenue, right? Most of their revenue comes from dues. And we're going to be the lead experts coming in, teaching a class. Your members are going to pass the exams. We've got all the practice tests. We've got all this proven one-day class. You study, you go get the credential. But it's a good revenue stream for them too. So honestly, early on, it was a couple trade organizations that took us all across the country, and we kept up those relationships. Later, we would do trainings at private companies. So SIG's done trainings for JP Morgan Asset Management, Morgan Stanley, BlackRock on Park Avenue. Those are some of my favorite classes. Flying to LaGuardia, take a cab or an Uber and go teach a class to all these real estate owners and developers in New York City. So that was how we early on promoted our in-person LEED training.
Fantastic. And question in terms of, so there's, I love it how you approach them in terms of what's in it for them, financial incentive. Hey, look, here's a way you guys can earn some extra revenue that's not based on dues. What was the revenue split that you guys negotiated with them?
Sure, and I don't mind being forthcoming with that, but essentially if we had a $295 per person class, they would typically make at least $50 per person, and we would cover the prints and the practice tests. At that time, we partnered with greenexamprep.com, GBES, which I later acquired. Me and some partners did. So essentially, ballpark $50 a head is what was in it for them. But again, they vetted us. They made sure that our class worked, that they would follow up and survey their members that took the class. Are you actually passing? Did you like the class? 5 stars. And once we were vetted, it was easy to say, oh, and by the way, you can make about $50 a head. So, but my point to your members might be, is there something that's approved for continuing ed or something you could get out as a subject matter expert and maybe partner and help someone else maybe make a little revenue off of it? Try your trade organizations, which usually are only membership fee based.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'm sure I have quite a few listeners who would love to get into a room of New York real estate developers and professionals. Teach them
and
something.
So what we did, just now, even 7 years in business at SIG, just now are we starting to do more classes, say, with AIA. It's one of those that maybe we overlooked that relationship early on, or ASID, Interior Designers. By the way, they have a new Platinum office in Washington, D.C., so we went to BOMA, Building Owners and Managers, Property Managers. So we went to even some organizations that might slightly be outside of what you might normally want, and they all wanted the LEED credentials.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Well, any other business lessons about building these businesses that, if you were sitting down with yourself when you got started doing that you would, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. There's a lot. Hindsight's always 20/20. I love being an entrepreneur and sure there's mistakes along the way. Let's see. Early on, when it comes to just starting the business, one of our core values is relationships. So you hear this a lot, and it's not cliche, but it's don't think of just the one and done. Most businesses are trying to move to, say, a subscription model. In our case, it was super important for us not just to deliver a great LEED training, but the person that scheduled the training that we're going to call a couple times a year, that we really had a relationship with them. Do we make their life easier? Does it help them meet their goals within that trade organization? So don't always go for the highest person you think you have to make the relationship with. Make relationships and be genuine about everyone you're going to interact with, because you just never know. One reason we do 6 classes a year in New York City at this one trade organization, just really a great, genuine relationship with the person that schedules the classes. And, it's not just, hey, here's a gift at Christmas. No, it's we have a great class. We have a great product. There's no doubt that we have a good relationship. So that's what came to mind. That was top of mind.
Tell us about what's new with LEED. What's the cutting edge stuff that you're seeing now?
Yeah, no, it's exciting. I think there's some out there that are like, oh, I don't like LEED. We're forced to do it. LEED slowing down. Well, here's the reality is, you know, there are so many government mandates, for example, GSA mandates. You have to, if you're going to build a new building and it's FBI, CDC, it's got to be LEED Gold now. Military, Department of Defense has to be LEED. So there's so many public mandates, public schools, LEED's baked in there. We're already doing it. On the private side, you're going to do it to stay competitive and all that. What I'm getting at is LEED version 4 is the next big thing. It's been rolled out, but your listeners need to know that October 31st this year is a very important date. So October 31st, 2016, for those that listen to this later. But after that date, if you haven't registered to go for LEED, you'll be forced into LEED version 4, which is a more stringent, a more technical program. LEED has to raise the bar about every 5 years. And this is the next update. It is more technical. You have to save more energy than a more recent energy code. Now, I'll talk in a minute about materials, how we're pushing for transparency from our material suppliers. No longer is it just let's have recycled carpet and low chemical paint and let's buy our materials from within 500 miles. Hey, those are great. But now with LEED version 4, it's what are you doing to green up the process of making those construction materials? Is your facility a net a carbon neutral facility? What's really in these products that people are going to be exposed to? So there's some material ingredient lists that we're having to see now. And so LEED version 4, that's one of the first big changes. Make sure everyone knows, October 31st. If you haven't, so that's the suggestion, that's the pro tip. If you have a project that's just on the fence, you're not sure if you're going to go for LEED or not, spend the $900, register the project now so you have options. LEED version 3 versus LEED version 4. What else is happening? Green builds in Los Angeles in early October this year. There's a changing of the guards. Rick Fredrizzi is stepping down as the CEO. Mahesh is coming in, and he's a very energetic leader, wants to grow LEED even more internationally. So just understand that while the United States LEED program might have been around for the last 16 years, it's just going to some countries. It's just gaining popularity in some parts of the world. So huge opportunity internationally. They value the LEED brand at a $2 billion brand. So it's kind of the core. And what's happened is, and some of you may know, there's the U.S. Green Building Council. That's the nonprofit, the think tank behind LEED that keeps it updated. And then there's GBCI. They've rebranded. Now they're called the Green Business Certification, Inc., because they not only certify our LEED projects and give out our LEED credential exams, but now they've either bought or partnered with WELL and the International Well Building Institute. We definitely need to talk about well buildings. They've also worked with GRES. That's for portfolio sustainability. I have 100 buildings. How green is my portfolio? They have SITES, which is a landscape architecture certification that you can get for how sustainable your landscape and your hardscapes are. And they've started to acquire some of these other certifications. So it's no longer just LEED on building by building. They want you to do LEED plus another certification. So that's new and trending with what's going on with LEED right now. LEED version 4 is coming out. The GBCI is starting to acquire some other certifications. So that's what's happening with LEED.
So I realized that we jumped into that. We've been throwing around LEED and a bunch of acronyms. I know you defined some of them. However, we have an international audience. So give us the rundown. What is LEED? I don't think we really did that.
And that'll be on your exam if anybody's studying, but leadership in energy and environmental design. The U.S. Green Building Council, while it might feel governmental, it's not. It's a 501c3. It's a nonprofit. If you want your building stamped as a green building, you go through a rigorous certification process. You can design and build green, LEED for new construction, which is now really rebranded to LEED Building Design and Construction. So you're going to get the certification, the LEED plaque for actually designing and building green, setting up a green infrastructure. It's a one-time certification. But another program that's really gained popularity, and my consulting firm SIG does a lot of, LEED for existing buildings, greening up existing building stock, proving that you operate green every single day. One of the biggest differences between the two within LEED, some of you know this, you get points if you put out bike racks and have showers. You want to encourage people that are going to come to that building on a regular basis to alternatively commute and take the bike and ride a bike. So LEED for new construction, you get points if you just have the right amount of bike racks and showers. LEED for existing buildings, that's only if the right amount of people are actually using them and using the train and walking. So LEED for existing buildings is actual performance. LEED for new construction is a more prescriptive on the design and construction side. But that's LEED. It's the most popular in the world green building rating system. Continues to grow.
Tell me about some of the interesting things you've seen architecture firms do, engineering firms, construction firms, in terms of innovative building practices or way that they've complied with that the LEED standard.
Sure, absolutely. You're going to have some clients that just want LEED, and there are 4 levels: certified, silver, gold, and platinum. Some just want LEED certified. What's nice is building codes are getting us almost to certified, maybe silver on the new construction side. That's the ultimate goal, is that code is already, say, LEED silver, gold, or higher, and it's climbing. We're getting there. The cost for a new construction has probably gone down to less than 1% premium for the soft cost to go for LEED if you want, say, silver. Your question, though, innovative. What if we want gold? What if we want platinum? Yeah, I've seen everything from, if anyone's out in Colorado, just in Golden, Colorado, is NREL, the National Renewable Energy Lab. That's where the Department of Energy tests wind turbines and tests solar panels. It's a net zero building. They have earned LEED Platinum. Their building automation system will open and close the windows if that's the best thing to do instead of using energy on the air conditioning. So, just very sophisticated there. Your designers will appreciate that building also has a labyrinth where they actually will cool the air and then deliver it within the building. So using some of that thermal mass and below grade. So that's a great building. Some other clients have ice storage. So there's some of these old techniques that if you have the room in your building, let's still do it. Ice storage, fuel cells, of course, solar panels. Does LEED say you have to put solar panels? No. But if you do, you're absolutely going to get more points, get a higher level of certification. So those are some of the innovative, LED luckily is going down in price. They still get a lot of rebates. So we're seeing LED in a lot more new construction and existing buildings. And that just helps you, do better than energy code. The motion sensors, not just, if there's no one in the room, let's turn off the lights. One of our clients in New York City, a financial institution there, they just renovated their entire 42-story building in phases. And now if you get up from your desk, it's not only going to turn off your lights, it's going to put your computer to sleep. It'll kill the power to the power strip in your workstation. It'll actually shut down your whole work area if it hasn't sensed anyone there. So we're getting closer to just those kind of sensors. We're seeing more and more of that in our design.
That's fantastic. How about innovative products that you've been impressed with? I mean, I know you're going to the green build. I guess you'll probably see a lot there. Any come to mind?
Green build. I try to go every year. I've got 3 boys. They're 8, 5, and 3. So when they were born close to a green build, I might have skipped one, but I've been to several. It's a great place to go see what's the latest technology. One I'm just fascinated with, and it's some thought leadership coming out of the West Coast near where you are, but is just using battery packs, even like Tesla wall packs in our buildings to, in major cities, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., New York, where we have demand response and we have to have a relationship with our utility, kind of like ice storage, but could we charge up the batteries at night when power is cheaper and then use that to mitigate how much power and what demand during the day we actually have and need? That just helps you with an overall energy strategy. So someone coined the term, I don't want to take it from her, but it's a kind of a hybrid building where we also have some batteries on our building just to manage our energy load. So that's the one that I'm really kind of tracking and excited about on the battery side. I think otherwise we're seeing more. I don't know if anyone has a Nest thermostat, but I've got 2 in my home, and you can operate it from your iPhone, your smart device. We're seeing that in buildings now. Let's give our tenants control so they can go ahead and alert. They're on their way to work. They're almost there. Let's go ahead and start turning on what they're going to be working in. I could see it in school settings, but definitely office. And then when they're not there, it'll sense that they've left and turn it off. So just giving some smart controls. What's happening is some of my real estate clients, they have to upgrade their Wi-Fi systems within the building so that the Wi-Fi connected devices throughout the building will now be on the network and someone can pull it. Everything has an IP address. So Some are doing that a lot more than others, but those are two I'm seeing. The batteries, the IP addresses, the Wi-Fi connectivity. Pretty excited about those.
And it just underscores how complex buildings are getting. There's just so much specialization going on here. I mean, you need the team that you need to pull off a modern building is just a lot of intellectual brain power and expertise.
Yeah, and so LEED pushes it, but integrated project delivery, get as many people together as early as possible. You're going to have a better design. You're going to have a better project. Even if you need to bid it out later, you know what? Get that smart elevator contractor in now to get the specs right, to get the design right. They'll have an advantage if you need them to still bid it against some others. But just do the integrated teams. Make sure you get as many people together as early as possible. We did that at Opus, and I really am a believer in that. Opus would buy the dirt, design the building in-house. We had architects and engineers in-house. We would build it on the construction team, and they would even property manage the building. And so what we would do, we'd have the property manager and building engineer, sometimes the cleaning company in the design meetings. And so if we're specifying some lobby tile, let's hear how the last few buildings went. Someone could speak up and say, that tile, we had to replace it within a year, because of this reason, because we used this kind of cleaning chemical and we had to switch it. Or you never know. Don't think, and nothing against the design community, don't think you know it all. Bring in some other super smart people to get it right, and then you'll learn, and they can still bid it out.
Fantastic, and I know that's a role that you guys play very important in terms of educating, consulting, getting stuff done with buildings.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, not just to prepare you for a LEED exam, help your career. Maybe it helps your company be more competitive. Maybe you take some really good questions to your next green building meeting. Maybe you're not even going to work on a lot of LEED projects, but you're going to bake in more sustainability, the low and low cost, the low-hanging fruit. Yeah, we love arming people with what should we be doing. LEED is a great guide for that. But on the continuing education side, a trend we're seeing is not just PowerPoint and a voiceover. My company at gbes.com, we're really trying hard to get more video and get more motion and just make sure it's an interactive continuing ed course, not just the PowerPoint and the voiceover. So we're trying to mix it up on how people get their continuing education.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Charlie, what I'd like to finish up talking with you about scaling a business, because you've had the opportunity to see a couple different businesses grow, like you said, self-described entrepreneur. What are some of the challenges that you had and that you've seen growing a business?
Sure. Yeah, so, and it happens to the best of us, but when you get that whale, when you get that big opportunity, a couple things. One is you might take it to the bank too soon, so make sure you, if you were going to say staff up or do some planning on how to execute on that many projects or that, bigger than normal contract, just make sure it's a sure thing. Maybe not hire until you really, really have to. You're going to hear that a lot, of course, but so to scale, you can have a lot of singles, or you can have a variety of different size projects. But I recommend do some whale hunting. At least, hopefully, you're getting looks at some of the best projects. Here in Atlanta, we're building 2 stadiums at the same time right now. I don't know why, but that's another discussion. The Falcons and the Braves are both building stadiums. Luckily, they're both going for LEED. My small giant in this green building movement company, we bid on the commissioning work, and we got second place on each one. Very frustrating, but no one got fired for hiring IBM. They gave it to some bigger firms, even though we had relationships and had good pricing. So what I'm getting at is, I think you always want to make sure you're going to get the right looks. Don't spend all your time whale hunting and think that's the only way to scale, but be willing to go after some of those medium or large size projects. If there's no one better to do it than you, really believe that. That's kind of one of my mantras. I'm not going to go out and say that, we need to go build a building. No, because we don't do that. We're consultants. We're sustainability consultants. But it has well come out, and is it similar to LEED? That's in our bailiwick. We've got to go all in. No one better to be that consultant than us. So we're all in and we're training on it. So I think to scale, make sure you get some looks at some bigger projects. Don't bank on only scaling when you get a big whale, because then what happens is you'd have to replace it. So that's something I think is really important, a lesson learned. Otherwise, just it is about culture. I mean, if you're going to scale, you need more people, unless you're maybe a software business or something like that. But as a service business, which a lot of your architect listeners, I'm sure, experience is, ideally you get into some recurring revenue and some subscription. We all want that, the retainer work, but you need more people to scale. So it is about culture. We've been named one of the best places to work in Atlanta for 3 years in a row by the Atlanta Business Chronicle. So go all in on your core values, really make business decisions and hire people based on your core values. You're going to hear that, and it's hard to just explain it, but you just got to do it, is really say, and we don't just say our core value is integrity. We define that. What does that mean to us? And so don't just have one word as your core value. Literally, here's our definition of our 4 core values for my consulting business: are quality of life, environmental stewardship, relationships, and integrity. But we define, what does that mean to us? So you're going to hear that a lot. Sometimes you have to hear it 4 or 5 times from some people that are good at business and some people you respect. It works. It's true. So I'd say hire by your core values, and keep hunting for some whales, but don't bank on only whales, meaning large projects. Have a good mix, and just reverse engineer. If you want to do this much business, let's reverse engineer that. And then I've learned this one early on is, obviously, and I think you talk about it on some of your podcasts, Nick, is not just gross revenue, but profit. Keep an eye on profits early. If I had it to do all over again, I would have really increased my financial education more. I'm a great teacher, and I'm really good at business development and relationships, and I'm very technical subject matter expert. But when it comes to the financials, is get your financial education up earlier. I'll admit I got a B in financial accounting at Georgia Tech. It didn't matter to me then, but now net profit matters, gross revenue matters. It matters now. So financial education early, but as early as possible, try to make sure you have some profitable revenue streams and you're not just growing top end, because then all you're doing is hiring more people to cover that work. You got to be profitable early.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Charlie. Any last words of wisdom that you want to leave with our audience, just about life experience, business, things you would want to pass on to your boys?
Yeah, thank you. I love entrepreneurship. Sure, it's not for everybody. I think you need some resources before you break out and you're your own entrepreneur. Resources don't always mean money. It just means, it could mean money. It could be a skill set. Most entrepreneurs are technicians. I'm sure a lot of your listeners that now have their own business and they're growing it, they were great designers for another firm, but it's time they found a better way, or they really want to grow their own firm. So you need some resources: money, a skill set, be a technician, and of course it doesn't hurt to have a great network. So just know those are the resources you need. And I would say lastly is podcasts. I do love podcasts. So to plug you here is just make sure you're listening to a lot of podcasts, reading the business books, is always be learning, because everything's changing faster than it ever has out there in the business world. Those would be the 2 pieces of advice. From a more practical LEED and well standpoint, LEED V4, version 4, don't be afraid of it. Just understand you might want to lock in some projects now. What's the next trend I'm super excited about is wellness real estate, certified.com. Yes, it's a little expensive now because it's early, but wellness real estate will affect your business in the next few years.
That's a great, fantastic heads up. Now, for architects or listeners who want to get involved in what you're doing, either they want some LEED education or they need some sustainability consulting, where should people go to check you guys out?
Yeah, thanks very much. So reach out. Our website is gbes.com. And for your listeners, I've created a 20% off coupon code. Maybe someone needs continuing ed. Maybe they need to pass a LEED exam. And that's BOA LEED all together. And we'll leave that out there. That's 20% off anything you need: practice test, continuing ed. And again, our continuing ed is also approved for AIA hours. So I think you'll find some exciting things there. I'm on LinkedIn, so probably just find me on there. Charlie Cichetti, Cichetti. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Love to just talk to you about sustainability, how it's affecting your career. I love business. If you're growing a small business, let's talk business too. So probably LinkedIn, and then just our website would be a good place to start.
Fantastic. So if you're listening to this podcast today, and you are because you just heard me say that, let's show Charlie the power of the Business of Architecture audience. Those of you who are thinking about doing LEED, be fantastic if you can tap into some of those resources that he has. Because, look, I'm a big believer in investing in yourself. You know, that's something I talk about frequently. I spend a lot on myself on continuing education, and life is a journey. Like Charlie said, never stop learning. Always be learning is what he said, right? Always be learning. All right, Charlie, thanks for joining us today. Fantastic information that you've shared with us. Appreciate it.
Good luck, everyone. Thank you.
And that is a wrap. Thank you for listening today. If you're looking for more time, freedom, impact, and income as an architect, get instant access to my free 4-part architect profit map by visiting freearchitectgift.com. The sponsor for today's show is ArchReach, the client relationship management tool built specifically for architects. If you want to systematize your marketing and business development, ArchReach will help you do it. Visit archreach.com to learn more. The views expressed on the show by my guests do not represent those of the host, and I make no representation, promise, guarantee, pledge, warranty, contract, bond, or commitment except to help you conquer the world.